Welcome to the Music for Transformation interview series, where I get to interview amazing people who use music to enhance their own lives and that of other people as well. So first of all, just hit that subscribe button now and enjoy the interview. Okay, so today I'm joined by a good friend of mine, Dr. Danny Scahill, who has been a chiropractor for 14 years now and has actually looked after thousands of patients and clients in that time. And something he's got within his bio is the fact that clients were starting to say to him, you've got to get this information out to a lot more people. You know, people need to hear this information. And I know that that's what you're doing, Danny, isn't it, in terms of your total health transformation program. And I'd love to hear a bit more about that. Speaking and coaching aspects of the chiropractic practice was always Danny's favorite part of the practice, and that's where he really gets to inspire, empower and motivate people to change, and that's very much in alignment what I'm involved with and do myself. He's done NLP practitioner training and really looked into what it takes to create long-lasting changes. So I don't want to keep rabbiting on myself. I think it's best that you explain a little bit about yourself, Danny. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, James. Really appreciate it, mate.
So you've got lots of different things, and obviously this interview is sort of based around music, and we haven't even mentioned that part of you at the minute. But let's start with a little bit of your background then. So you've obviously got these years as a chiropractor, and then you decided to sort of move that forward and branch out a little bit. So tell us a little bit about what you're involved with now.
Yeah, okay, cool. So if I go back to when I was very, very young, in terms of the show that we're on now, on your show about music has always been such a huge part of my life. In fact, it sounds cliche, but I've said many times in my life, music is my life. You're a musician yourself. I'm sure you can relate to that.
Absolutely.
Always loved music from a very young age. Fast forward to now, when I'm being a chiropractor for 14 years now. I've been a DJ for 21, going on 22 years now. That's where the music connection comes in. And I've used music a lot in my life, day to day, in the practice as a chiropractor, in seminars and workshops. It's just as you know, because that's what Inner Anthem largely is about. Connecting to your passion and doing it via music and training. So that's a whistle-stop tour of the past 25 years, mate.
That's brilliant. And we'll delve into a few of those areas. So it's interesting actually to say you actually use music within your chiropractic practice as well.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, when we're adjusting clients, I do know chiropractors that don't have any music playing. I think since I've been adjusting, I think from the very beginning in the first practice when I used to work in Dublin, there was music, but I think it was like the radio, the music piped in, which was better than no music. But ever since I've been in other practices, I've always chosen the music that's been on for two reasons. One, it helps relax the client. And depending on what the music is, because, looking at it from a DJing perspective, for me, I DJ dance music, and it's very uplifting and emotional and melodic. I find it very relaxing and very enjoyable. A lot of clients do as well. So it's twofold, really. It's going to help the clients relax, and it also raises my vibration massively. Puts me in the zone so I can deliver the best possible chiropractic care to my people, to my clients.
That's amazing, and you know that's a way that I use music as well. Often before I do things like calls like this, interviews like this, I often put music on. Like I say, I had an interview just before this, but before that, I was playing some music to raise my vibration. Absolutely, because we want to give the best, don't we? We want to give the best service. So obviously you use music for both the client and for yourself as well. So what changes do you notice in yourself then? Do you think you do perform better as a chiropractor when you play music?
Oh, without question. There's no doubt about it. You know, if there's music that I don't enjoy playing, I will be, so a part of me, maybe it's partly conscious and partly subconscious, will be like thinking about the music rather than the client, as in I'm not enjoying this music, and that takes my attention and intention off my clients, which is not what I want, you know. So for sure, mate. Yeah.
So the music's got to be right, hasn't it? And that's where a little bit of you know, it's person specific to a certain degree, isn't it? Because, you know, a type of music that someone loves, someone else won't enjoy, and therefore they'll get different responses. So yeah, there is an element of that. But yeah, I love that actually. You know, I hadn't really considered that from the actual practitioner's point of view as well. I was sort of thinking about relaxing the clients and making sure they're okay. If nothing else, it adds a bit of background noise and takes out that awkward silence. You know, that's without all the other benefits that it has as well. But actually, yeah, it totally makes sense for the actual chiropractor as well to actually, raise their states, their energy vibration. So that's brilliant. What about your DJing then? Because I've always found this interesting about you, Danny. I mean, we've known each other a few years ago, and for me, it's not two separate people, because you're the same person, and I want everyone to know that there can be lots of different characters within that one person, within that one being, you know, and it's absolutely fine and very acceptable and very a good thing to have. But, you know, we've kind of got the Dr. Danny side of things. And then, of course, we've got the, you know, the dance DJ and someone who likes to go to raves and party and sort of all that as well. And some people might sort of think, well, does that sound a bit contradictory? But I think it's a little bit like yin and yang. You kind of need both outlets. But maybe you want to comment on that. But yeah, tell us a little bit more about your DJing.
Well, do you know what the reality is? My first love, as I mentioned right at the beginning, was music. Way before I knew what chiropractic was, way before because just to put it in context for you, like from the age of 10, I'm from Liverpool, as the listeners have probably gathered from my accent. And I used to go to a market every Saturday, or was it Sunday, sometime at the weekend, to shop for rave tapes at the age of 10. I'm now 41, so it's quite a few years ago. So music was always my first love, and then later on became health and chiropractic and stuff like that. So the DJing, yeah, I mean, as I say, I've loved music from a very young age. And then I remember going to some club nights, some raves and stuff like that, looking at the DJs thinking, I love this music, I love this atmosphere, I could do that. So then I just, I think it was either late 99 or very early 2000, I bought my first set of decks. I had people talking about them years previous, not really knowing I had no idea what they were talking about, frankly, you know. So I was very lucky through a friend of a friend, to have a DJ mentor who, he's now retired from DJing in clubs and stuff, but he was DJing in Ibiza when I met him, you know, and fast forward to 2018 and 2019, I DJed in Ibiza 2 consecutive years as well. So it was quite a journey. It's been really interesting. The euphoria that I get from going clubbing is a similar sort of thing when I'm DJing, because I'm controlling the energy, I'm controlling the journey. We go in the direction that I want the musical experience to go, and that's quite a phenomenal energy to be in, if that makes sense.
It makes total sense to me. And in actual fact, you've kind of given an answer to what I was going to ask about how it feels to be a DJ, because obviously if you're doing it, there's a reason why you're doing it. And some people might do it because they get paid, they enjoy the music. But I imagine for a lot of people there's something more. It's obviously that euphoria. Is there anything else? Is it sort of to do with, the connection you're creating with people? Is there anything else, other reasons why you really like DJing?
Yeah, I think it kind of parallels to the love of teaching and training and coaching people. They're both very much of house, if you like. You're both performing in different ways, although there's massive similarities. I mean, you've done loads of performing in your music and also with the roles that you've done before. So it's you can relate, I'm sure. It's very much you're performing. I've never done it because of to be the center of attention, but you automatically become that, don't you? Which for somebody who grew up being told that they were shy pretty much their whole life is quite ironic now to absolutely love to perform in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, both in terms of doing training in the health space versus DJing, So there was a lot of personal growth by doing it.
I mean, I can totally relate to that. And it was interesting, just to give you a story from me. I was in a band about 15 years ago. And again, I'm very much naturally an introvert. I can be quite shy. 15 years ago, I would have been less confident than I am now. I've since gone through personal development, so lower self-esteem. And the interesting thing was, when I was in a band, I would, for want of a better phrase, give it some on stage. And the people, I think, were quite shocked. And it seemed like a total different person. But it was a way of me expressing myself. And also, the good thing about that, whether it's DJing or being in a band, you're getting instant feedback from the crowd. And if you know that you're lifting the crowd and they're having an amazing time, that's great feedback to you. And yes, your ego loves that, but I think that's quite fulfilling as well, because you actually know that you're doing a good job as well. You're actually, doing something positive because other people are feeling good. Would you sort of agree with that?
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, something just came to mind just now when you were talking about energy and how interacting with the crowd and stuff. I used to run a night with a couple of business partners in London until early last year, and we'd book headline DJs, and they'd cost quite a lot of money. Some of them are like 700-800 quid. Some of them are like 1,500 quid for like 2-3 hours work. Not bad if you can get it as a DJ. That was always my aspiration when I was like 20. I wanted to become the number one DJ in the world. Hey ho, I've had a lot of fun in the process. So when we booked this guy, and he'd made loads of great records, but he was more of a producer than he was a DJ, which we didn't realize until we'd had him play. I was playing after him, and he was on for 3 hours. And when he came on, he just did that to the energy. The room emptied out. And one of my business partners and friends said to me, "When you're on, Danny, bring the energy." I was like, "Of course I will." So when I got on there, people since then have told me it was one of the best sets they have ever seen, which was very humbling and very great for the ego as well. I don't mind admitting.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, we do have to fuel our ego as well, don't we? That's important that we do actually, we've got this ego, we do need to fuel it, hopefully in positive ways and not destructive ways, and not putting other people down or anything like that. But we do need to bear that in mind as well. But that's great, isn't it? Lovely to have that feedback. Yeah. How I want to sort of shift the conversation slightly. I mean, that I use music both in my own life, and now I've got the empowerment songs where, within the lyrics about personal development, and the combination of the melody and the lyrics can really help to change people's mindset, etc. But you have this total health transformation program. You've got a book, and you've got the different services you do there. Does music play a part within that or could it, in terms of total health transformation, can music really affect people's health?
The short answer is yes. Of course. So there's various different ways that can help in terms of your health. It could be visualizations, which generally typically have some music in the background. It could be like positive affirmations going through there, or some hypnotic trances. The same could be said for whether it's first thing in the morning or last thing at night. Like something I listen to every morning it's just basically a subliminal hypnotic trance. Not necessarily hypnotic, that's probably the wrong word, because it's not about putting you to sleep. It's just to have on in the background. I'll often play it in the background when I'm working. It's on very low volume. It's not distracting me on anything. It's just creeping in or sneaking into the subconscious. So music is super powerful, and there's been, I'm sure you've done loads of research yourself, the nature of the work that you're in. There's loads of research to show the positive health benefits of music on the human body and how the human physiology works and responds. So yeah, there's stacks of research out there to say so, yes.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was interested actually with the some subliminal. Is that, because I've listened to subliminal stuff as well, is that like they're doing positive affirmations subliminally within the music, or is that something different?
Partly, yeah. and then there's they're kind of like scattered through there. There's also different waves, the alpha, beta, theta, and delta, and all that kind of thing, or trying to tune your brain for whatever it is you want to. Whatever it is you're listening to that particular audio for, whether it's health, wealth, happiness, or a mixture of all the above.
And there's a lot of different tools out there now, isn't there? When I do meditation, I often like to use there's isochronic tones and binaural beats, which is brainwave entrainment, which lowers your brain waves, so you're getting into a deeper state of meditation. And I like that. I think that really helps me. And I don't like dead silence usually. Generally, I will like some form of sound or music. I have to be careful if it is sort of music based, because I can really then start to, and it can be a good thing, but I can really start to concentrate on the actual music, and it sort of takes me out of what I should be doing. But I do generally like that sort of sound, because I know you do a lot of meditation. Do you have some form of sound there, or do you just like the silence?
It's I do both, but not at the same time. So I do transcendental meditation, or TM for short, in the AM and the PM, usually first thing in the morning. I woke up really early this morning, so I was meditating at 5 a.m. this morning. Don't usually get up that early, but I was up, so I thought, let's start now. And then in the evening, I'll usually meditate either just before dinner or sometime near bedtime. I will also listen to like a guided imagery kind of meditation, which does have music in the background. You've heard of Joe Dispenza, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a great Joe Dispenza morning meditation. I don't generally listen to it in the morning. It's usually kind of sometime in the middle of the day, but it works really nicely whatever time. So combination really, but always separate rather than together.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, as we were saying, there's so many tools out there. There's so many free tools on YouTube. And with a lot of them, you will find music is being used. And even if we're not consciously aware of it, it is in the subconscious. I want to take us on to a conversation, because we have been on some of the same courses together, and they haven't all been in England where we live. They've been some different countries as well. And I know that you and I have both been on a course where they use music heavily in that course, and we had to go through dancing, and it was kind of free dancing, wasn't it, in terms of they played different types of music. Yeah, you know the course I'm on about. They played different types of music, and we would move our body how we saw fit. And I just want to, you might just be able to explain a little bit more about your experiences with that. It was interesting for me because, Danny, you very much like dance music, and I'm not a lover of dance music, although I do like some tunes. And when I was younger, I kind of particularly didn't like music. You know, I'm around the same age as you, and in the 90s, again, there was a lot of dance music, a lot of raves. And for me, I would get bored at the raves. Okay, I preferred probably, if anything, you know, going to the cheesy discos or something like that. You know, I would prefer that, and often like songs I can kind of sing along to. And I think, to be honest, around that time, I didn't appreciate dance music. I couldn't fully understand it. But there's been a couple of experiences where I've got a greater understanding of how that feels. And one of those was actually before we were on a course. One of those was years ago when I was in Greece, I think, a bit of a lad's holiday, and they played the Prodigy. There was a Prodigy song on, and up until then I'd never understood why people like the Prodigy. And do you know what? Something that changed my mind was it was simply the volume that it was played at. Because when I was, you know, maybe watching Top of the Pops on my little television set, I wasn't feeling that bass and really getting that volume, and I wasn't experiencing it. You know, I was just wondering why this guy was running around saying the words fire starter and, you know, looked a bit crazy. But then I got that real bass of it, and I'm like, I sort of understand it a bit. It's not my favorite type of music, but I understand it. But then when we went on that course together, it was, again, another real experience. And the particular piece that I can think of, the particular song was Sandstorm. And what we had to do is we had to close our eyes and just move however we saw fit, and we could move around the room. And I got so much into that song because of the movements that I was doing as well. So I just wondered, you know, there isn't a real sort of question here. I just wondered if you could shed any light on those experiences, because I'm guessing, again, that's what you get within raves. It's not just the music, it's the fact that people are moving their bodies, and you know, I'm guessing it's releasing endorphins. And I found it freeing. I found if I could get over the barriers of thinking, well, is anyone watching me? I found it really freeing, like I was sort of breaking free and just letting my natural self out. So if you've got any comments on any of that, that would be great.
Yeah, it's great to think back to that course you're referring to. And I actually remember looking either to my left or to my right when that song was on. Incidentally, that's one of the first pieces of vinyl I ever bought, that Darude Sandstorm for my DJing. Amazing track, so I can understand fully how you got into it. I remember looking over and seeing you going for it, absolutely going for it. And I thought, he doesn't usually like dance music, but he's clearly enjoying that. So yeah, it's the two best places for me to listen to music are, number one, a nightclub with a good sound system. That's got to be a given, as you know, being a musician, audio is key. And the second one is the car, as long as you've got a good sound system in the car, because it surrounds you and you feel it. The bass lines, like that Firestarter track you were talking about, that is, I think one of the lyrics is Twisted Firestarter. That bass line is pretty twisted. It's in a good way. It's very deep, and you just feel it in every fiber of your being. And that is really what dance music is like in a club, when it's some music that you're enjoying, or even if you didn't yet know you enjoy it, because you can't not feel it on some level, you know. I don't know whether that answers your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, like I say, it was really just that was my experience, and I wondered whether you could sort of add anything onto that. But yeah, that's great. You know, I found that really freeing, and you know, the whole idea of these interviews that I'm doing is really to explore how people are using music in different ways, and obviously dancing is an element of that, isn't it? In terms of, you know, we can just listen to music, and we can listen to dance music, but it's kind of there within the title, isn't it, that we should be dancing to it. And when we're moving our body, we're just getting everything, aren't you? You know, if you think of the different things that are changing your state there, it's the actual music is changing your states and changing your emotions, but it's the actual movement as well, which again is what your total health program is about, isn't it? It's got movement, it's got diet, and then it's got the mind. And in a way, maybe the music is having a bit of impact on your mind, but you've got the movement in terms of the exercise as well. And obviously we get short-term benefits from exercise, all the release of endorphins, as well as obviously the longer term as well. Yeah. Do you, when you're sort of, when you're speaking about the exercise, because again, we all know that there's certain exercise guidelines, and I've got a background in this, and we should be doing this type of exercise for this long. We know there's sort of certain exercise guidelines, but if someone wanted to dance, would you sort of say go out and dance, and that can be great for your health?
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. I was speaking with a client the other day actually, and they were having some mental health challenges, let's say. And one of the first things I often say to clients is, are you moving? Are you exercising? Because one of the quickest ways to get out of your head is to move. So it's something that I recommend all the time, because there's as you mentioned, the short-term benefits, there's long-term benefits to it. And changing your state, the easiest way and the quickest way to change it is to change it. In other words, get up and move. So dancing, I do it myself regularly. I think I might have mentioned when we were speaking recently, I was just having a little break in my office, between working on a couple of projects and stuff. Just turn the music up really loud in my office where I'm sat right now, and have a dance for 15, 20 minutes. And it just completely changes the energy in me and changes the energy in my space. And then I can go back to it. And I used to do something similar when I was in university. Like I was in university between 2001 and 2006. And studying to be a chiropractor, there was a lot of study. So I spent a lot of time in the library. And there was a gang of us who used to go to the library together, and we'd all be sat on a table, either 4 or 6 of us. And I'd study for 45 minutes, and then I would have a break for 15 minutes. Now, whether that be a break, go outside and have fresh air, or just stay sat at the desk, I'd have I don't think it was a Walkman, but it was a CD player. That's how long ago it was, a portable one. I'd just put that in, put some headphones on, and I'd say to the girls and lads who I was studying with, I'm just going into the main room. And they said, what do you mean by that? I said, well, this is dance music. I'm going to sit here, I'm going to close my eyes, and then I feel like I'm in the main room of a club. And it just took me away to like as if I was in a club. So putting those headphones on was a metaphor for me to go to the main room and recharge my batteries.
And that's so important, isn't it? Nowadays we are so rushed. We've got our big to-do lists, and obviously, this year 2020 has been very challenging as well because of COVID, and we've had lockdown and all that. It's so important to have those portions of time, even if it is a quick 5 minutes, just to escape from those other things. And it could be meditation, it could be listening to music, it could be exercising or whatever, but just to focus on something else. It's really beneficial to us, isn't it? So
yes,
absolutely. Good. So I wanted to, what was I going to ask you next? And there was something, I was going to make a comment actually, just another example, because you said about the whole importance of getting up and moving. I remember again, just because you'll be able to relate to this, Danny, I remember again when we were on a different course in Germany, and I was lucky enough, privileged enough to actually be one of the people who kind of takes part of that course, because it was kind of like a train the trainer sort of thing, teaching us how to, be speakers. And I was one of the people that got to go on stage and deliver part of the course. And I remember beforehand, I'm all mic'd up and I'm just about to go on, and you'll know Ryan, and Ryan said to me, right, do 10 star jumps. I was like, hey, what? Do 10 star jumps. And it was amazing. I did 10 star jumps, and there's about 300 people in the room. I'm doing 10 star jumps at the side of the stage. And I'm like, yep, I'm ready now. It was that instance where just moving your body, obviously, and I was looking forward to it. I really was excited, but we sort of had that nervous excitement, don't we? That little bit of anxiety. And I just did those 10 star jumps. It's like, yeah, I feel great now. And I'm aware of that again. So often before an important call, I will do some exercise, or I will do some sort of power poses. You know, I'll clench my fists. I will do some dancing, all of those things. And I'm generally doing, if music's available to me, I will be doing it to music as well. Do you sort of do that before important calls, sales calls, meetings yourself, Danny? Any of that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Whether if it's appropriate, I'll play the music out loud. If not, it's in the headphones. Because you alluded to something really interesting there. You know, when people are going onto stage, you know, people often hear that public speaking is one of the biggest fears of anyone on the planet. Well, really what it boils down to is fear of looking stupid in public, doesn't it? So let's say there's two people. One is they're both waiting to go on stage. One's going on one after the other. One of them's about to go on stage. His or her palms are sweaty, the heart's beating through the chest and things of that nature. And they're starting to perspire a bit, let's say. And so they're viewing it as excitement. So they go on stage, do a fantastic set. The other person, the exact same things are happening in terms of they're getting sweaty palms, the heart's beating through the chest, the short and shallow breathing, etc., etc. They're petrified. They're terrified. Now, the reality is, from a physiological and a chemical point of view, being excited and being scared are very, very similar. It just comes down to perception. How are you going to decide that's going to be? Is that going to be fear or is that going to be excitement? Does that make sense?
That's brilliant. Makes absolutely sense. And yeah, I sort of know that as eustress or distress. You know, both of those are forms of stress. Are we becoming distressed with it? Or eustress is kind of similar to euphoria. You know, it's a good stress for us, isn't it? It's something we're looking forward to and excitement. And it is, you're absolutely right. You know, this is one of those elements they teach you within personal development, isn't it? It's all about how you see a situation. You can't always change the situation, but it's what you make of it, how you see of it. So yeah, great point. I'm glad you brought that up. And I think on the courses that we have actually done, and this is something that I've started using more, and I'll going forward, I'm going to be using a lot more as well within live training events. I do some stuff virtually now, but within live training events, I'll really be using music to really just make a change, to be honest. So people, you know, be personal development events and people will not walk out the same person as they walked in. And, you know, lots of ideas for that and going forward. But you and I have both been to events where they really use music, don't they, to shift the vibration, shift the energy, both up and down. And do you do that yourself? Because I know you do a lot of workshops, don't you? Where you, I think some of these are based upon your total health transformation. Do you actually use music within those?
Absolutely. Yeah, both in terms of the THT, the total health transformation, as well as in the chiropractic practice. They were obviously pre-COVID live. That will come back eventually. But when we're doing them live, there's music for different parts of the workshops. Some of it's really high energy to get people up, get them moving, get them dancing, to change the energy in the room. Some of it is very, very chilled and will help relax them so they can concentrate for writing exercises and maybe sharing exercises. Very similar format really to a lot of the trainings that we've been on that you've been referring to a few times. And there's a reason why they do that, because it works. It gets people engaged, keeps the energy high, and learning takes energy, doesn't it? So we want to keep energy high so we can learn more. Definitely. Yeah, you and I sort of learnt that concept, didn't we? About it's all controlling energy, isn't it? We want to raise energy or just bring it back off a little bit, but it's all about controlling energy. And of course, when we're doing a workshop, we can sort of facilitate that. But then when we're at home on our own, it's about us facilitating our own energy, isn't it? Controlling our own energy, so that if we're starting to feel a little bit down, yes, you know, that might be telling us something and we can learn from that experience, but, you know, we might need to lift ourselves back up, control our energy so that we can be the best self.
best version of ourselves as we can. And obviously, you know, music is a great way of doing that. So yeah, that's brilliant. I have, before we sort of wrap this up, Danny, I have an interesting question for you. And I'm just going through the notes here because we'll talk about how people can contact you in a minute and all that. But I have a question for you. It's a little bit of a conundrum, okay? Let's just say you were put into the situation where you had to lose your eyesight or your hearing. Which are you going to choose?
I honestly could not live without music, so I would have to choose losing my eyes. Touch wood that never happens, but
yeah, please, you know, I'm not actually projecting that out into the universe, so don't blame me. But it's interesting. I've asked that questions to a couple of other people, obviously people that are interested in music, and they've all come up with the same answer, and that would be, as far as I know, my answer as well, you know, because I can still hug my loved ones, if I'm allowed to hug my loved ones, and feel them, and you know, but I might not be able to see them. But yeah, I just wouldn't want to lose music. So that is exactly how I would answer as well. So Danny has been kind enough to make it a special offer. If anyone's watching this on YouTube or listening to this or whatever, he's offering a free breakthrough consultation to any listeners. So if you just reference this call that you've seen, Danny, what is that sort of breakthrough consultation, Danny?
So it's basically a 30 minute conversation, so I can have a chat with somebody, find out what's going on in their life, what are their health challenges, and then we can work out if there's a good fit to work together to help them to, the whole thing of my THT programs is to eat, move, and think on purpose. And that purpose is to take your health from where it is now to where you'd absolutely love it to be. So the breakthrough consultations are basically, it's a bit of a fact find and a bit of a let's get to know each other a bit better. And if you want some help and there is a good match, then we can talk about that further.
That's brilliant. And how do people do that? So how can they get hold of you, and you know, where can they find you?
So they can go to my website, dannyscahill.com. There's no R in Scahill, just in case you like most people tend to spell it. It's actually spelled Scahill. So dannyscahill.com. I'm also on Facebook. Personal profile is that name. There's also facebook.com/total health transformation programs, or just put total health transformation into the Facebook search bar and it'll come up.
Brilliant. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. So thank you for that. Is there anything else, as we sort of bring this to a close, is there anything else that you'd like to discuss, or any question that you wished I had asked you?
It's a good question. They put me on the spot now. No, I think we've covered quite a lot of ground there, haven't we? And in terms of how music relates to what we both do, and how that can be used to improve your energy and improve your health as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely fine then. Good. So I'm gonna end with, give one piece of advice to people who are looking to make a change to their life, be it their mindset, be it in their health, or something like that. One simple piece of advice. What would you say, Danny, apart from obviously contacting you, but what would you say?
Well, as we're talking about music on your show, mate, I'll talk about music. Whatever your favorite music is, and please don't say you don't like music, because everyone likes music. Whatever your favorite music is, play some of it every day. And don't just passively listen to it. Get up and dance. Dance like no one's watching. Someone wise once said many, many years ago. I forget who it was. But yeah, get up, move the body, and have a groove.
That's brilliant. An awesome piece of advice there, Danny. And I would totally agree with that. So thank you ever so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking time out of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun, mate.
Thank you so much for watching. 3 quick things to do now. 1, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. 2, go to the inneranthem.com website and access your free video series, the 3-minute music life hack, so you can find out how to use music to enhance your life. And thirdly, get access, get your own copy of the Empowerment Songs albums at the inneranthem.com website.